Hi, Diana.
Good morning.
Good morning. Who just joined us?
Hey guys, it's Stephanie from Atlanta. Can y'all hear me?
Ah, good, Bethany. Stephanie.
I get that all the time. How are y'all?
We're doing well. How are you doing?
Good.
Why don't we go ahead and get started?
Sure. Okay.
All right, thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Laura in Milwaukee, and today we're going to do a demo of the site and then also go into the admin site and show you how to customize your own local page, set up events, and anything else that you'll need to know. I think Craig's going to kick us off, and then I'll go into the demo. But first, for all of you who are able to log into the GoToMeeting, can you see my screen right now? It's just going to be a black screen, and now I'm popping up Firefox and a Facebook page.
Yes.
Yes. Yep. Great.
Okay, before we get started, let me just go through all the names that I have one more time. Rose, Impius, Emily, Kristen and Christy, Mallory, Nicole, Diane, and Stephanie. Is there anybody I missed? Okay, good. Real quick, I want to take 1 minute and just kind of get you all up to speed on where we've been over the last couple of weeks or months, just to have an appreciation kind of for where we are, because you know we're kind of doing this up here in Milwaukee in a bit of a black box from your perspective, because you haven't had the opportunity to be part of it. But as we've gone through this, we have probably had over 1,000 tests of this particular application, both functional tests and design tests. Out of all of that testing, and I don't know, probably 8 to 10 different people have worked on this from here in Milwaukee. Of those tests, we ended up with about 154 functional bugs that we worked through and 94 design issues. Infinite has been great. They've been very good to work through. I would have to say I would have wished that some of these things could have happened more quickly. Didn't happen necessarily in the timing that I would like or that any of us here would like, but as far as communication, as far as keeping us up to speed, and just working through issues with us, they've been great. Where we stand today is we've got 3 high priority issues, 3 medium issues, and 10 low issues that they are still working through, and a number of design issues that they're still working through for us. So as the team here made the decision last week or the week before, we thought it's stable, we're in a good place. Let's give you guys the opportunity to see it, to log in, to play around a little bit, and then at the end we'll talk about next steps. Are there any questions before we get started? Okay, we are recording this so that you can go back and look at it after. Now again, you know, we're still making minor changes to the site, so the recording may look different than the actual site at the end, but at least from a functionality standpoint, it'll be a great tool to have access to go back to and look at. Now, how did Laura do that? You'll be able to do that and have access to that. So.
Okay, great. So I'm going to jump into the demo. We're going to be looking at the Milwaukee page, and just as a caveat, as you know, Craig said, we are going to be doing this demo in our test environment, and it is really stable right now. It's looking really good, but you may see a few quirky things, maybe some data that doesn't look 100% realistic, but so just kind of wanted to throw that caveat out there before we get started. So I'm going to go to the Milwaukee page, and every city is going to have their own unique URL that they're going to be able to publicize. And so I'm going to go to Milwaukee's, which is milwaukee.uwlink.net. And to first kind of give you the lay of the land on this page, so what you're going to see on this page, and this is going to be a similar template for all the sites, is you'll kind of get an introduction to where you are based on the image and the tagline here. It'll show your upcoming events that users can scroll through here. Past events, people will be able to take a look at pictures in here. And then each site can set up their own hashtags, which will pull in information and posts from Instagram and Twitter. So they get a really dynamic, nice social wall here. And then at the footer, there's some custom links that you can add as well. So we're anticipating kind of a typical user would, come in. They're going to browse these events a little bit. So I'm going to browse this upcoming Friday Fish Fry and Volunteer event, which I believe is an actual event coming up.
Yeah, just a different date.
Okay, exactly. So what you can see on here is a description of the event. You can see who is coming to the event, the little snapshots, and if you click on these, you'll be able to go to that person's profile and just see a few other pieces of information about them. A map of the event and the address, and then you can also contact the organizer of the event if you have any questions about any aspect of it. Sure, yep. Do you have any questions so far? And yeah, I'll be kind of pausing for questions, but if there's anything that strikes you right away as I'm going through this, just speak out. So we're anticipating that people will browse around, and then they will not have to log in to view all of these events. The only time they're going to need to log in is when they actually register for an event. So if I select register, people are going to have the option to log in with the email and password or Facebook if they are existing users who have already signed up. If they're not, they're going to sign up right here. So I'm going to log in as a returning user. Okay, I'm going to sign in. And I will also mention that in a few moments I'll also be showing the Facebook sign-in because I think that's really slick and it's kind of a really nice one-click login. But for this user, I'm going to sign in using my email and password. And just to note, this response on a registration is something that is still in works that we're working on with Infinite. We're looking to get the functionality for going live to add the event to a personal calendar or to add it to Facebook as a sharing with your friends. That is either going to happen for our first release of this site or pretty early on. So just kind of a note that this response box is kind of still in works right now. Okay, so now I can see that I've registered. I have the option to cancel registration, and then this is my user has now shown up under the attendees. If I were to go back to the home page, I would now see this little flag that indicates that I am registered for the event. So I'm just going to take a quick foray into showing you what it looks like when you sign in via Facebook. So I'm going to log out of this user. And if I were to sign in on this page, if I hit the Facebook sign in, and you can see I'm already logged into Facebook on this device, and we know a lot of people in this demographic are basically just logged into Facebook 24/7, so that's probably pretty typical. So I'm already logged in on my computer. So all I would need to do is hit Facebook sign in, and it grabs those credentials that I've already put in when I logged into Facebook originally, and now I'm logged in. So I can see that when I go to my profile, here I am. And so it's just a really nice one-click option. All right, so I'm going to log back in now as my first user so I can show you some things with her profile. Yep, I have a question from Rosie about whether you will receive a confirmation. So when the first time you log in via Facebook. So what I just showed you was someone who has already signed up for an account with Facebook. So that was a sign in versus a sign up. So if I was signing up for the first time with a Facebook user, I would go to this sign up option, Facebook, and then it's going to kind of boot you over to Facebook. It's going to kind of give you a confirmation that this LINC site is asking, for your information, for your email and your name. And then on Facebook, you're going to confirm and say, this is okay. And then as part of the sign up process, the LINC is going to ask you a couple more questions. So if you're signing up via Facebook for the first time, there are a couple extra steps. So, but for the example that I showed you, this was someone who had already created their account. Does that answer your question? Awesome. Okay. 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 So I'm logged in as my first user, and when you're logged in, there's a couple additional features that you have. One, you can look at my events. So you can do a quick peek and see everything that you are registered for. So this person is registered for the fish fry event, and then also an upcoming event at a radio station, and then also take a look at your past events. They can also edit and review their profile. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So on the profile page, you, as a user, can see how many hours you volunteered, and then what impact areas you've been affecting with your volunteering, and then also your economic impact. I'm going to go into how to set that up a little bit more on the admin side. The education, income, and health tags, and then the economic impact are set up at the event level. So you can also go in and edit your basic information, your photo, just some basic information about what company you work for, your interests, and so forth. So I'm going to pause right now and see if there's any questions at this point. Okay, great.
This is Kristen from Pittsburgh. I just have a quick question.
Sure.
And this probably been answered before, and I just forget. But for the education, income, and health, it can only be those 3 categories. Is that right?
Currently, right now, those are our set top-level categories. You'll be able to see that in a little bit more detail on the admin site. I know, Craig, that was something that was brought up at a meeting. Maybe you can add to that.
Yeah, at the meeting down in Dallas. Yeah, for now, know that those are the top level. You will have the capability to create your own sub-level categories, and you'll see that when Laura gets into that on the admin side. But at least with this iteration, we're stuck with those 3 at the top level and for this graph and that. We need to, as a group, decide later on if what changes we may want or flexibility that we want, and then kind of see what it would cost to have that happen.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
All right, one other feature I want to look at is under the past events. When an event has passed, it's really nice. The system totals up how many volunteer hours were part of that event, kind of what area it was impacting, and then the total economic impact. And again, this is set up at the admin level as far as what the dollar amount, the economic impact is going to be. And
I want to just add something that it might be hard on this medium to see, but one of the things we liked about Infinite is they just automatically thought of things to make this dynamic. For instance, you may or may not have seen, as we came to this page, the hours volunteered ticked up as, to 30, and the economic impact ticked up, so there was movement there. And it's really interesting. It does some of that with some of the pictures, and they really, we think, have done a nice job in making it really dynamic and a little different than you see in a lot of websites, at least that I end up going to. So we just want to make sure you don't miss some of those nuances.
yeah, and along with that, Infinite built a really nice image gallery in here as well. So after an event is complete, you will be able to upload pictures of your event so people can look for themselves. And then so it has this really nice kind of pop-up functionality here. All right. So I'm going to pause and see if you have any questions at this point before we go into the admin site and take a look at how to make updates to your local page, and then also to how to add and edit events. So any questions just about the front end of the site, anything you've seen, or anything else that you want to see?
This is Emily in Cincinnati, and I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
A little bit. It's coming in a little weird.
Okay. Is that a little better?
Yeah.
Okay. The website's beautiful, beautifully done, but I have a quick question about the profile pages.
Sure.
So are the profile pages intended, so if you sign in, you can see your own profile. Can others see your profile as well?
They can see your profile, but all the information in your profile is optional. So really, if you really didn't want people to see anything about you, they would just see your name. You don't have to enter in a photo. You don't have to enter in your company or any of those items as well. So it's really as much or as little information as you would like to provide.
Because I was trying to figure out, like, within the user experience, when you would see someone else's profile, since, for example, you list the interests on there, and I assumed that, like, obviously we wouldn't want to have, like, I don't need to see what my own interests are. I already know what those are. So that's what I was trying to figure out, is how someone else, so I assumed someone else gets to see that. Like, that's for the purpose of sharing with other people. And so where would you find that? Like, as the user, how would, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Is that just clicking on the other attendees, on their profile,
Yeah.
on their icon?
Yep. That's where you would see it is this list of attendees. You can, let's see, we'll go to Craig here. So Craig, you can see, has a photo, but he doesn't have any information here. And like I said, that's all optional. But that is the place where you would be able to see other people's information, is by going to those that attendee box.
Got it. Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Rosie is asking, for event registrations requiring payment, how will that payment information come back to each of our offices, and are there fees associated with online payment? So let me just start off and say that this system does not take payments. That was not, part of the plan for the site. So that's not a feature of the site. So I don't know if anyone else on the team maybe has suggestions on what we're planning on doing or what other options are for that.
Yeah, and I'll just add that the original scope of this project never include payment for events, and so just so that we knew that would be quite a huge deal, as I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are aware of, that we just couldn't get into, or it'd probably be another year before we were able to roll this out. However, what we thought was perhaps a link back to your current payment, whatever you're using today to take payments, as a way to handle those payments, and then prioritize that along with other enhancements or changes or whatever that we want to do with the system. So that's one thing that had to fall off early in the design of the site.
And I think when you put in the description of the event itself, that's where you'd want to put in a link to your own site and your own payment system that already exists.
Hey, this is Nicole. I have a quick question. Regarding the economic impact, I understand that it's from the volunteer hours, but I think we talked about in Dallas, and my concern is, what if somebody has joined and is a LINC member and has given a $250 gift and looks at their profile and their economic impact is, that's 112 or something? Do we see that as any sort of concern of maybe how it's represented, or I don't know how anybody else feels about that.
Well, and you're right. I know we talked about that down in Dallas, and there are at least one or two that have a concern with that. Again, because of the where it is in the design, we couldn't change that. That could be changed in the future, perhaps worded differently, worded in such a way that different United Ways can handle it differently. In the short term, you have control over that economic impact. So you could make it $1. So basically, for every hour is $1, and at least that number is always going to be a very low number. And for the first year or two, or whatever, I guess as I see it, and you guys have, I'm on the IT side. I'm not on the other end of it, but how many events is someone going to attend, and how many hours are they going to accrue that they're going to see if you do it $1, let's say, a number that's anything more than a couple of bucks. So that's a short term. It may not, again, it may not be perfect in your mind, and I can understand that, but at least it's a bit of a workaround until we talk more on next phase.
Okay. On the flip side of that, we could also include somebody's, I guess we probably wouldn't want to do this on the website, but you could include, that somebody had an economic impact of $250, but then it's going to automatically tie into the volunteer hours, correct? It would change it?
Yeah, right now it's an automatic calculation. It just simply calculates the number of hours they volunteered based on the start and end time of the event times the dollar amount you put in for that event, and then that's how it all magically adds up.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Sure.
Anything else before we move to the admin site? Okay. All right, so the admin site, and we can send you this URL. Keep in mind that this is the test admin site, so the URL will be a slightly bit different when we go live. But Milwaukee will be setting up admin users for everyone based on their location. I'm going to log in as my Milwaukee admin user. Okay. So when I log in, I can see my Milwaukee site and then also my events. So I'm going to start off with going to the Site tab, and this is where you can customize your local page. And so as we go through this, I'll kind of be toggling back and forth. to the site itself so you can see where all these components are showing up. And when we do go to the live site, Milwaukee will kind of build the shell of everyone's page, and then you and your admins will be able to log in and customize the image and your hashtags and everything like that.
And that's when we go live, right?
Yes, when we go live. Mm-hmm. Okay, so first we have the city and the tagline, and that's going to be appearing right here, and then here is your tagline right here. And maybe, Dane, you can let us know, is the tagline going to be pretty much the same for every site? Is that what we're kind of looking for?
Yeah, I would say for right now, just at least in the beginning, we'd like to be consistent with things like that. Just see how our volunteers receive it. If, and of course, these are things that we can discuss and change as we go. But I think for a rollout, I think it'd be nice to have a nice, consistent front.
All right, and that subdomain is probably going to be pretty consistent between sites. That is what drives your unique URL. So that's that Milwaukee dot part. So we're probably going to make that consistent with just a city name. The contact email, the Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook are all going to appear on your footer. So that's going to be right here in that contact form. One thing to note, the Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram fields require a specific format. So for example, for my Facebook, I have it as United Way GMWC. So you can see that our URL is facebook.com/UnitedWayGMWC. I don't need that entire URL. It's just information behind the slash. So that's the format that this field requires. The header image is going to appear right here, and I'll hand it off to Dane to kind of talk about the look and feel for that.
Sure. So what I did here is obviously we're working with a really thin and long space. So I broke it up with obviously just kind of a collage of some local photos, give people a feel of what Milwaukee's all about. I encourage you guys to do something that you think is inspiring, that speaks to your audience, that will speak to your volunteers. And I've created an InDesign template. This could be built in really any software you like or any program that you want. The true image is just, or the true space rather, can accommodate just one image. I've made it look like they're separate cells, but that's just a look. So anyway, I'll send out that template to each of you, and you guys can use it if you like or not. I do encourage people to include maybe a glamour shot of your city, something that will signify to those that are familiar with the area. It's just a nice visual indicator of where they are. And exact dimensions will be coming as soon as I have them.
All right, the next couple fields are your hashtags. So you can have one or two hashtags that will appear, and that is what's going to drive your social wall. And I think that we're probably recommending that one is UW LINC, and then the other can be your just location specific. So that's what's going to pull in that, that nice dynamic wall there. So the analytics field, this is referring to Google Analytics. So the system has the capacity to, for you to add a Google Analytics code, which will allow you in Google Analytics to pull in some data about, how many people are visiting your page and some other metrics. So what we recommend is that you probably have someone at your United Way who's already tracking analytics for probably your primary website, and you should be able to work with them to get this little code snippet to put in there. It's really pretty straightforward to go to Google Analytics and retrieve a little code bit like this. And we're guessing that someone at your United Way is probably already doing Google Analytics in some capacity. The default terms for your location appear when someone originally signs up. So someone is not going to be able to create an account without agreeing to the terms and conditions. And I can show you where that is. So if I sign up, I'm going to be required to read these terms and conditions.
And I know we had talked before in December, I think, or November, about perhaps coming up with some default terms and conditions that we could all use as just that, as the default. And I don't know, I don't remember if that was assigned to someone or not or whatever, but I'll certainly bring it up on Friday's meeting to see if we have someone who wants to, you know, kind of come up with something.
And then the last field is this give URL, and that will be whatever you'd like to direct people to on your own site to give a gift, and that's going to appear in the footer as well. And just a note on the give link and this Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, those aren't required fields, and if you don't put in a value for these, the icons will just disappear. So those are not required. Any questions on setting up the site? Okay. So the next item that I'm going to go to is setting up events.
I'm sorry, this is Cynthia. Quick question. If you make a change, do you have to save it for that thing to be, for the change to stick, or do you have, does it automatically update?
You'll save. Yep. So your options when you get to the bottom of the events page.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Your site. Let me just pop back in there. So you're going to go to update site to save. Otherwise, cancel.
Great. Thanks.
All right, so the next task is viewing and creating events. So when I go to events, I'll be able to kind of get a snapshot of everything I've created so far for my location. And I can see, when the event is going to be held, how many registrations I have so far. To create a new event, I go over to the new event button here. And I'm just going to go through and create this event and then again sort of toggle back to the site so you see where some of these things are showing up. So I have my test event that I'm going to add here. So I have a title and description. And the title and description, would appear right here and here, as well as on the, event details page here and the description here. I'll set an event date and a start time and end time. One thing to note, one of the quirks of the system is that the times are in military time, so just make sure you're entering the right time there. So you're not setting it for 5 in the morning, which I've definitely done in testing a few times. So this publish button gives you the option to create and save an event without it displaying on your site yet. So if you're still kind of working out the details, but you want to get some of this in here, you can add all your settings and save, and not hit publish. When you're ready for it to show up on your site, that's when you would check off publish. So if for some reason, if you created an event and you're expecting it to show up and it's not, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you have publish checked off here. Then you're going to add your image. And that is going to appear both on the upcoming events, and then sort of a version of it is sort of appearing in the background right here too. And Dane, I'm not sure if you have any guidelines for this kind of event pick.
Yeah, just in regards to the event picture, again, kind of as always, I just recommend you guys, choose photos that give a little context to what you're doing. It's something that you would want to look at. It's entertaining. It's interesting. And then I guess just technically I would be careful, because if you have words, and you may have a tendency to make your event picture be something you've designed on the computer in InDesign or something, and maybe it has like the title of your event, something like that. But I would discourage that at this point, just because the way that the photo is used in this circumstance, it's really just like some nice peripheral background. And once you start laying words over words, as you can imagine, things get hard to read. So that's the only caution I would throw to you guys. And as you get in the site and play around, make sure, just look and see what things are looking like. Have fun with it. Don't limit yourself, but I do just recommend everyone be mindful of what you're using and where you're using it.
Hey, Dane, I have a question about photos. This is Stephanie from Atlanta. Where are y'all getting most of your photos from? Are they your own photos? Are they photos you've purchased from like iStock? Or I'm just thinking about copyright as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And I can get a little more specific in the email that I'll send you guys. But just in general, we work with a really great local photographer here. And they've been very generous and flexible with us. And, we're all in fairly large cities. I would hope, there's someone out there that will work with you either pro bono or discounted. But also Wiki Commons, and I'll include that website in my email to you guys, but Wiki Commons is essentially just a bunch of, free media. And you can also go right on Google and do an image search and go to, I forget exactly, but it's like an advanced search. And you can select photos that says, you can use these photos as long as you're not making money from them. You can use these photos outright no matter what you want. So there's definitely options. Just be savvy in your searching and your resources.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
All right, so the next fields are the organizer and organizer email. And these are important because this is what is behind this contact organizer. So whatever email that you put into here, when someone fills out a form, there's going to be an automated email sent to that person.
And certainly when we go live, obviously that's something you're going to want to test every time you set up an event, just to make sure you didn't mistype an email, and then people can't contact that person.
So the next field is that economic impact that we talked about and Craig kind of elaborated on. So basically here's where you're setting a dollar amount. So it's this dollar amount you set in here times the length of the event as calculated by the start time and end time that's going to be driving that impact that you see both on people's profile and then also when calculating the total impact for an event. So, as Craig said, some of you, this may work for some of you. Some of you, may want to do some kind of workaround. We might change this in the future, but that is how you set this up right now.
And one change that was made out of the meeting we had down in Dallas is, if I remember correctly, this was actually done originally at the whole site level, so there'd be one number for everybody. But they incorporated this at the event level to give you guys a little more flexibility, at least for now.
So the location, the street address and so forth, that is what's going to drive this this map appearing and the location on the map. So next is the event categories, and we discussed this a little bit when looking at the site. So as Craig and I mentioned, there's the top level category, and this is going to be the same across the board for all sites. These are going to be your default values: education, income, and health. And then your subcategories are what you can set up at your local level based on, you know, what your initiatives are and your priorities. So for Milwaukee, for this test site, I've set up test subcategories of literacy, food security, and healthcare access. So when I'm making this event, I'm going to choose a top category of health and then a subcategory of food security. And the reason why it's nice to add that top category when applicable is for reporting purposes. So everyone's subcategories are going to be different, but the primary categories are going to be the same. So for example, at the end of the year, you know, we'd be able to get a cumulative report on how many hours were volunteered for health-related volunteer events or education-related volunteer events. So I'm going to create it. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I have a quick question about that. This is Stephanie again from Atlanta. So homelessness is one of our focus areas here. We added it on. So I'm assuming right now I would, you know, type that in as an event category customized for Atlanta. But if the entire initiative, event focus, everything is focused on homelessness, do I still choose a top category, or do you suggest that I don't? I'm not sure if that would help us in reporting, because there is no, it's not really, homelessness isn't really a subcategory for us. It is a category.
Sure.
So I don't know if you have guidance here.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I can give you necessarily guidance on that, but I can tell you, you aren't going to be required to enter a top category. So if it really is not applicable, you aren't going to be forced to do that. And you know, I think maybe that's something as a compact, we can maybe start forming some guidelines around taking a look at, you know, what really do we want to report on, and kind of go from there. Maybe Craig has some.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add to that. And I you know, realized, obviously it became clear when we were down in Dallas that people are looking at this stuff differently. These were originally designed this way as a way to be able to look at some metrics across the whole system. You know, obviously looking years in the future when, you know, hopefully there'd be hundreds of United Ways using this system, we could really get some good metrics. Now, that may not be possible. It might, you know, at the end of the day, it may just be too different. And as Laura said, I think that's something that the compact needs to talk about. What do we want to keep track of or monitor or report on across the whole compact or across the whole system? But I think that's really the compact to decide that, and then, you know, we make adjustments to the system based on those decisions, really. But I guess let me circle back to what Laura said. You can skip that top level and just use your sub level, and that's for now. And maybe then we'll all decide something different and make those changes down the road.
So she can.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So as Gina said, yes, you can leave it blank and just use homelessness, not have a high level, just have a subcategory.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any other questions about those event fields? So I went and I updated the event, which saved it, and I do have published checks, so it's going to be live right away. And the system will show your the event that's coming up soonest first. So here's my summer solstice event. And you can see it has all the components that I entered in. And you can see that it does have that sub-level tag appears on there as well. So going back to this main event list, there's a couple other things I'm going to show. First, how to get a list of all of your attendees. So if you have an upcoming event, like for example, the fish fry event right now has 7 attendees. And if I want to get a list of those attendees, I would go to the View button. And this is, again, another kind of quirk of the system. You're always going to go into the View button to see your attendees rather than the Edit. Because the Edit, you're going to go and actually edit the event. So I go into View. I have the option to see registrations. I get sort of a snapshot of registrations. So, you know, contact information and when people signed up. And then I can download a CSV file, which is essentially very similar to an Excel file. I'll show you that. This pops open my registrants. I get their name, which event it was, email, phone, and then date created. Any questions about looking at and downloading registrants? Okay.
Oh, I have one question from Cincinnati.
Yes.
The ID when next to the usernames, was that like the user ID, like an ID associated with their account? And then same question now next to the events as well. What's the ID on the left column?
Yes. That is an ID that is not really very useful for us. I think it's sort of a system ID, so when new users are created, the system adds a numeric ID to them. So that's, you know, there are some things in this admin side that are probably just, you know, kind of default information that we can probably, you know, down the line work with Infinite to, you know, delete, so we're only seeing information that's really useful for us. So I would say that's probably one of the items that, you know, just really, it's some back-end information, but is probably not really useful for any of our purposes.
And basically what the system is doing, it's just a unique identifier, so that if you have 2 Sam Smiths that really are 2 Sam Smiths, that allows the system to distinguish between the 2.
Thank you.
And Sam Smith is never going to see his ID. I mean, yeah, it's all back-end stuff.
Hey, so I have a question about registration. When you pull the list, and is it, I guess my question is registration, are the registration fields customizable per city, or is it the same all across the board? Like if we wanted something required in Atlanta, but it wasn't as big of a deal in Milwaukee, could we customize that, or is that not possible?
So a couple of things on that. So when someone's registering, they actually don't have to enter in any additional information right now. So, you know, they take a look at the event and they can just hit register. If they don't already have an account created, then we'd prompt them to enter an account and enter some of their basic information so that we have that on their record. But I think, you know, really we're trying to make this just an easy kind of 1 or 2 click process for people. But on the point of custom fields, you know, I think that is, you know, maybe something that was part of discussions at some point. It was not part of the original scope for this release. I think it's something that we can definitely add to as an enhancement to develop as that need arises.
Yeah, and I think that has been bounced around a little bit at different times, and it it was a fairly substantial thing to allow that at that level from a programming perspective. And so, you know, we sort of chose to say, okay, we'll include that in the future once we get this going.
Okay. Okay. And I knew we had gone back and forth on what is required, what isn't required when they register or when they create a profile. I just couldn't remember if it was customizable. My only thought is it would be great if we could know what company people are affiliated with, but I understand that's not a required field right now.
You have an option to add their company.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. They can add their company in their profile, but it's not a required field when creating a user or registering. Yeah. So it looks like Rosie had a question. Does the event registration prompt a confirmation email to the user? If yes, can we customize the confirmation email language? No, that is not part of the functionality right now. Infinite is building the functionality, as you probably saw a little bit in the demo, to add the event to a personal calendar and to share on Facebook. But right now, we don't have any kind of email capacity built into the system. Any other questions?
My one last question, y'all, sorry, is can you go back to what the spreadsheet looks like when you view it, the registration spreadsheet?
No.
Okay, so is it possible to add companies in there if they have provided it in their profile?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a request that we can put in to Infinite to add that. I don't think that would be a huge issue, but I don't necessarily anticipate that would happen for this upcoming release. That might be a later enhancement. But
oh, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, yep, I can add that.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I guess I would add to that as if, you know, perhaps anything that is on the profile could be thrown into there, one, just to make it simple, and then two, as we start looking at, and that's, like Laura said, probably a pretty simple deal, not a big deal. As we look at customizing event registration type fields, we would also obviously want those included in any download as well when we get to that point.
Great, thank you.
Laura, I have a quick question to Cynthia. Somewhere we had talked about this in the compact, that a person would be allowed to volunteer 3 or 4 times before you would like to see them make a commitment to some kind of a pledge, or you know, or they're not going to charge them for initially. So how do we keep track of how often this person has volunteered?
Yeah, in fact, we talked about, again, certainly in this phase, that you would basically, these people would be taken and put into ANDAR or whatever your main database is, and be keeping track of the fact that they're attending events there, and where you have all the other data about them. Again, ideally, we would have liked, you know, some sort of interface and a lot of other things, and perhaps that'll happen down the road. But the compact is going to have to, you know, have a discussion around where do you want to keep that. And at least for now, the thought is we keep it in your main database where all the other stuff is, and maybe we have to look at how do we make it as simple as possible to get it into that database. There's a lot of questions around that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
So one other task I'm going to show you is adding event pictures to an event after the event is over. So you saw an example of that in the demo. So here's a past event, and we have this image gallery from the event. So for example, we have this holiday philanthropy event that has passed. And again, we're going into the view versus the edit. go into galleries. You can see I don't have any galleries in here yet, so I'm going to create one. I can give it a title. That one's always going to trip me up, yeah. And then I just add the pictures, from your desktop, or you can, grab them from your Facebook, or however you have them, basically. So you can just add a bunch to the gallery here. And I'm just going to add a few for this demo, but you could, really, add a ton of pictures. I'll kind of show them uploading here. And then I commit them. And I've created this gallery now. So then when I go back to that event.
And just remember, from a technical side, depending on how many you upload and your internet speeds and all of that, it may take some time to get all those pictures up there.
So then my photos appear in the past event here, and they'll pop up in this gallery too. And then also, once an event is passed, I think what we're probably doing on our end is updating the event description to be sort of a recap of the event. Any questions on that event gallery? All right, one last tool that you have in here is the ability to view and sort of moderate the social posts that appear on your wall. So for example, here are all of your posts. And on the, off chance that someone posts something inappropriate, Dane, you do have the ability to, review all of the posts here and delete it. One thing to mention is that, if the post is tagged with UW-LINC and you delete it, you're deleting it not just for yourself, but for any wall that uses UW-LINC, for example, which is probably appropriate if it's an inappropriate image or message.
We should also talk when they get on the wall. That whole thing, like every 15 minutes, right?
They actually, I think, have made some updates to that. So okay. I think it's actually a little bit more. I'm seeing things within a minute or two. Okay. So really, it should be almost real time. When someone posts a picture or a tweet, it should kind of appear on your post within your wall in a couple minutes.
And again, just a technical thing. Remember, if you're just sitting there watching it, you probably have to refresh the page in order to see it. In order to have it show it.
Mm-hmm. And people can, load more if they want to go back and see older images in posts. Just as a note, some of these other tabs here are not really going to be applicable to what we're doing. I think probably as an enhancement, we want to have infinite get rid of these just because they're just not useful. But there's really no content on this dashboards, assets, and comments pages here.
And part of that is just because it's part of the tool that they're using to build this in. It comes with tools that we're not necessarily using. And certainly we didn't want them to spend their time removing those things rather than getting this to the finish line. So that's why they're still there.
So now I'm going to open it up for questions, and then Craig is going to talk about next steps. And of course, we're if you think of questions afterwards, just you can email them to Craig, and if you're thinking about things, a couple hours later that that you forgot to ask, or you're thinking of.
I have a question. This is Diana in Columbus. I was curious, and I'm sorry if you said this and I missed it. I had some technical difficulties, so I missed about the last 10 to 12 minutes. But I wanted to know if the individual's volunteer hours and economic impact populate as soon as they register, or if that happens after the event takes place. And if it does happen as soon as they register, can we edit that based on who actually attends the event?
It will not appear on their profile until after the event date has passed. So the next day after the event, then those hours are going to be added to their profile. So if you have an event, just one moment. So if you have an event, and at the event you are kind of checking registration off and seeing who actually attended, you can theoretically then go into the event the day after, view your registrations. If there are people who did not attend, you can delete them. You're deleting their registration, you're not deleting their record. So if that, that could be a way for you to manage those lists.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, well, this is our plan right now. So this is all test data that eventually we need to get rid of in order to go live. So the thought was, and at the same time, Infinite had some additional bugs that we want them to finish up before we really want to go completely live. So the thought was to get from you guys, I guess I need name and email address of the folks who are going to be the administrators, because I don't know that we have that. I don't think I have that. So if each of you could send that to me, then we'll set you up now with the appropriate test city, and you can just poke around as you have time. And then if Infinite gets done what they need to get done, we would think, at least the plan is next Wednesday, they would delete all the data that's on the system. So we'd start over, obviously, because it's all test data. And then give about a week and a half for people to put in their real data and call it live at that point once we've deleted the test data. And then once people have their data in, they can start using the tool and launch it as they see fit. Oh, yes, thank you, Michelle. And we would also then, let's say, that week and a half from next Wednesday, we would change that where the URL points to. So instead of pointing to that temporary site it's pointing to today, all of these URLs that we've purchased will all point to the new site. Any questions, comments, or concerns on that timetable? Okay. I mean, I would anticipate bringing up this same comment tomorrow morning at the compact meeting if there's time. But I wanted to. That's what we're thinking on this end. And unless there's some big important bug that Infinite was not able to get done by next Wednesday, we would go with that time frame. So your to-dos are to send me an email with just your name, I guess. If it's your email address, I'll have it in the email. But with your name, so we can set you up as an administrator on these test accounts we have, and then ultimately do the same thing again once we've cleaned out the test data. Any questions on any of that?
Quick question. You're looking for our work email, right? I see in this test site everybody's put their personal private emails.
Yeah, that.
Well, okay. This what you're looking at right here. These are people who signed up on Yep, on the website. So on the LINC site, so these are actual, users who probably would use, probably their personal email. We're asking for your email to create your admin account here. So it's not going to be an account that exists on here.
Yeah, so it would be, it should be your work email address.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, and then obviously the sooner you get that to me, we can get that set up, and that'll give you more time to play around, and then we'll go from there.
And also, right now you can go to this LINC test site, and you can create users and sign up for an event, and just get more of a feel for the site itself too.
Yeah. And if you missed that, it's uwlink.net. That's the one that'll take you there.
Hey, Craig.
The main page, and then you'll see, like for instance, Milwaukee has the word Milwaukee before it once you get into that site.
Craig.
Yes.
It's Treva in Cincinnati. We are going to have multiple people. Hi. We're going to have multiple people that have access to this, and so in order to limit the number of admins, we were planning to use our LINC email address. Would that be okay? Which for us is link@uwgc.org. So it is a unique email address.
The admin side?
No, the admin doesn't even.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, that's fine.
Okay.
And then in that case, obviously, you need to give me the email address in the email. So, but yeah, we'll use whatever you want.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. So just as Craig mentioned, the uwlink.net is where you can go to. That's kind of our national page, and you'll see in this again is the test site. When you see this drop down, you'll see that all of your cities, have been created. Just a note, they're full of really weird test data. So really what we recommend right now, at least for testing, is you probably just want to hang out in the Milwaukee site, because that's going to be the most realistic.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just a caveat on that.
And, for those of you who have not done testing on something like this in the past, as part of the testing, really weird things happen, and they stay out there. They fix the bug, but the weird thing is still there. That's just the way it goes. So, yeah, you'll see junk out there, and that's why, obviously, we have to delete everything before we go forward. So yeah, it's a good point, Laura. Thank you. If you want to see most realistic instance, go to Milwaukee. But as far as adding events or whatever, you can do that on your particular city, on the admin side, if you will.
Cincinnati is spelled wrong, and our state affiliation is missing. Do you want me to email that to you, or do you just want to jot down a note?
We can fix that. Yeah. Let's chalk it up to test data.
There we go.
Yeah.
And all of that's going to be redone. Not all of it. I mean, those are part of the pieces that will be redone when we go live, and then we'll make sure we get that all right. Okay, and I guess the other thing is we'll let you know how you can get access to this recording. So if you want to go back and listen to it or show someone else or whatever, you'll have access to this just as a good resource. Okay.
Thank you.
Any last minute questions?
So, Rosie, is there a way to pull up a list of everyone who has registered? Do you mean registered for or signed up on the site? Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. Not just for the event, for everyone for the site. Currently there is not. I actually already have that into Infinite as an enhancement. So, because I think that's something that we want, and you guys probably all want, just to see how many people are coming into the site but maybe not registering. So I'm anticipating that's not something that we're going to have originally when we go live, but we're working with Infinite to sort of prioritize these enhancements, and so we can include that as a priority enhancement.
Okay. Great. Again, let me know if you have any questions. Give me your folks. We'll get that set up. And, well, I'm planning on being on the call at least for the first half hour tomorrow morning. And thank you all for being a part of this, for attending, for giving us your thoughts and ideas. And, you know, we're looking forward to finally, you know, getting this launched and going forward with it. Okay, thanks everyone. Goodbye.
Hey, I just want to say,
Greg, Laura, appreciate.
Oh,
What was that?
I just wanted to say that it looks really great, and you guys have done a great job. So thank you for everything you've done.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of hard work, but we're happy with it too.
Beautiful. We're excited to start using it here in Houston. So.
Cool.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to you tomorrow, Craig.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Milwaukee. Thanks, Craig.
Good job, Craig. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.